All right. Um, so start, give you guys a little bit on our guy and then answer some questions. But Trey Amos. So I think first the thing that comes to my mind first is we would have taken him with our first round pick. He was in the mix for our first round pick. So that's what we thought of him, just on a high level. Really, really impressed with the type of young man and player he is. And so, excuse me, I, it was another one of those where the whole building was really pumped. And you could, I don't know if you guys could hear it, it was probably our R&D department was the loudest. He was the top guy on their board coming into today, and really by far the top guy on our board when, not by far, but he was clearly the top guy on our board when we picked. And so that was, we were really excited that he was there. And the way he plays, love the way he plays at the line of scrimmage. He's a press corner who can be really physical at the line of scrimmage, but he's also a guy who can really play in any scheme you want. And I think that's what separates him from a lot of different guys. And you talk about his ball skills. He's got excellent ball skills. He took the ball away this year. He had 3 interceptions. I think he's got 30 plus PBUs over his career. So really a guy who we covet in terms of taking the ball away, and those are the things that we would look for. He can run, he's physical, he's big, he's kind of got everything you want as a corner. And just some of the things like we talked about with Josh yesterday, he was really, really good in our metrics against really good players. So the guys we had graded really high, he was really the 96th percentile against the really good players. So in terms of all of that, all those things lined up, you got to think Jeff Beathard was a big proponent of his going down there, and then he also cross-checks our corners and it says he really, really loved them. And then Jason Simmons went down for his pro day and really got a chance to see him in his element, which he was really impressed with in terms of the way he supported his teammates, the way he competed there, and just came away really impressed, kind of standing back and observing everything. So Trey is a guy who did it the hard way. He went, he's from the Lafayette, Louisiana area. He went to Lafayette College right out of high school, and he was there for 3 years. And then he was good enough to go to Alabama the year after that. And then from Alabama, which he played really well. If you guys watch the SEC title game last year, I think it was, against when he was with Alabama against Georgia, had a really good performance there where we first really noticed him. And then went to Ole Miss and with some coaches that he knew they were playing the same scheme because Alabama changed coaches. So he's earned everything he's got, and he's a guy who his play style is really, really what we want in a corner. So really happy with this pick, and we'll open it up to questions.
Last thing you said with Josh, it was really easy to kind of get past the trade back options because you wanted him. Was that different at all, knowing kind of the gap between your next pick now? When Amos was on the board, and if you were getting calls, did you consider the gap till your next pick?
Yeah, we got some calls, and it's a similar situation where we decided if Amos was there, we were going to stay and pick. And he was there with another player that we would have stayed and picked at. And if those guys were gone, then we would have traded back, which we had some options to do that. But with him being there, we felt it was a really easy decision.
And how do you view him with Marshawn and with Mikey, and what does that look like on the field?
Looks like a lot of really good guys competing, and Jay Jones and all the rest of the guys we have back there. So, that kind of like we said yesterday with Josh, really the same thing. Just that's who we are. We compete, and it's all about competition in this program.
Why do you think he was able to go from, I think he was like a 3-star high school, going to a smaller school, and then going to the SEC? Why was he able to make that road, go that road and come out like this?
I think just, when you have guys, and you always look at the different things, why people transfer, and, what's behind that. And that used to be a negative thing, but I think now with the era that we're in, you get a lot of guys who are under recruited for whatever reason, and then they have the chance where other teams are looking at guys at smaller schools all the time and looking to poach those guys. So I think he was under recruited, and then when he had some success at Lafayette, he was able to go to Alabama. And then obviously the reason he went to Ole Miss was not for any other reason than to stay in the same scheme.
But is there anything you learned about him personally, just about his mindset or anything like that, that allowed him to feel like he
Yeah.
can make that jump and play at that level?
Yeah, he's got a real toughness, a real resiliency, a real resolve to him, and so you can see that on the field. You can feel that when you meet with him. Somebody's lights.
Adam, you obviously got 2 picks at positions that you guys felt you wanted to address. Having taken an edge rusher, obviously I think that was a position a lot of people were anticipating. What was the thought there in terms of, you said you liked Amos, obviously, but was just didn't like what your options were, or why did you do that?
Yeah, I think it just comes to he was the highest guy on our board. So there was some edge rushers that we liked that got picked, and the next edge rushers on the board were lower.
And you've got 3 picks left. I'm sure there's a desire to have gotten more. Do you still think that's possible down the line in terms of getting, picks in that 4th, 5th round range, or was this perhaps the best opportunity you decided Amos was the guy?
Yeah, I think when you look at the value of the picks, this was our best opportunity to get some more picks. And if you look at the chart, I'm sure you have, like it goes down quite a bit. It's a pretty steep curve. So if we were to trade down in the next round, we're not going to get as big of a haul as we would have in this round. But in the end, the options we had weren't worth the risk.
I know you said there will be competition, but just look at the ripple effect and how you guys sort of envision the secondary shaking out. And does this give you a chance to put Mikey Sanders still back inside, or is that still fluid?
I think that's still fluid, and I think that's really up to the coaches. But I think all that's fluid, and we're going to get the guys who we think are the best on the field. So if that's Mikey inside, that could be. But I think there's no sacred cows on this team. So the best guys, whether it's 2 or 3 or even 4, are going to play.
Related to that, sorry if I missed it earlier, but you think he can play inside as well as outside?
With Trey,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
really more of an outside guy. He's like an outside press corner is where that's probably his bread and butter. I wouldn't put it. I think his best position is outside. I wouldn't. I don't think he can't play inside, but I think your best use him outside. Yeah.
What did R&D see in him that maybe doesn't show up on tape, or just what did they see as their perspective?
Yeah, I think the one that I mentioned was just how well he played against the really high-graded players, but also the yards per coverage snap, not keeping up a lot of explosives, all those different metrics, and he was really in the 90th percentile, and I don't have them in front of me, but like 5 or 6 different metrics, which was really, it made him in their grading system a blue player, which is as high as you can get.
Take 3 more. We have Trey almost ready.
Hey, Adam. So it sounds like this is probably the end of day or night 2 for you all, probably, right? So you all have gotten your 2 guys, right? These are commanders and that were, high on your board. So how are you all feeling? It's like you got your first 2 Christmas gifts, dream gifts here.
Yeah, you said it. I think, if you had asked me this a couple days ago, if we would have got these 2 players, one, and it's debatable, and I'm sure people would disagree with me, but I didn't think Connolly was going to be there when we picked, and I certainly didn't think Amos was going to be there when we picked. So we feel like we got two players that were first round quality. So we're thrilled, and I think the board fell to us pretty well.
Thanks.
Hey, Adam, when you look at Trey as far as his career from freshman to his senior year, I'm sure he has progressed each year. How do you see him moving now into the NFL and then jump starting quickly with the defense right now?
Yeah, he's shown that that's the other thing about kind of a cool thing about college football now. Totally love everything. I don't want to get into a longer conversation about the portal and everything, but it shows you that guys can transition into different programs and be successful. And so he's proven that twice now. And so I have, and I think we all have, so much confidence in our coaches and in our secondary coaches, especially in how they can develop guys and how they can coach guys and how they can connect with our players. So I have a ton of confidence, and I know we all do, that he's going to transition really well here.
Last one?
When you look at him, his style of play and all the great players that he played with at Ole Miss, because they had a lot of pro prospects on their defense, his physicality, how does that help your defense now? Because he's a bigger version of maybe Marshawn.
Yeah, he is a big, strong dude, and he's a competitor. And you said there's a lot of good players on that team. We didn't have him on a 30 visit, but we had Trey Harris on a 30 visit, who's a big, strong dude too. And he talked about how they battled every day in practice. It's iron sharpening iron, so to speak. And so he's played against a lot of really good players, and he doesn't back down to anybody. And it's almost like he relishes it. You saw it on the tape. You saw it. I saw it in person at the Senior Bowl in the one-on-ones, and the way he challenges guys and how strong he is. So, the NFL's, it's a tough physical game, and so when you can do that and not only physically but mentally, then that certainly gives you an advantage.
All right, thanks, Adam, appreciate it. Jared will